of course, to bring in additional stewarding and to bring in extra colours. So we went down that trail. But the total cost of all that was in the order of, well, just over £100,000. I haven't got the paperwork with me, that's really account, but I can assure you that was the thing. And I have to say that we've had a particularly good season from a financial point of view, and had that spend not been there, the club would have made a profit in the season we just finished. And we think the second half of the season was tough, very difficult. That's even more remarkable. People have sort of over the last 2 or 3 weeks have texted me, emailed me to say about losses. But when you consider most second division, in fact most football clubs make huge losses, and Crewe alone lost 1.7 million in the last 2 seasons, I think that turnout for us is very tough. Let me just try and move on to the next point there. With regards to the bank guarantees that's on there, I will not be speaking about bank guarantees. That's a personal issue between directors and the bank. But you can rest assured that the guarantees are held by the directors, and the co-op bank are perfectly happy with it. But you would not expect me to go into detail here. Let me just move on. What's the next point? Oh yes, with regards to future share sales. The club will only issue shares at par. That is £5 a share. Again, there's been some discussion that we might be issuing them at £1 at a time to people just to get voting rights up. That is not the case, never has been the case, and the club will only issue shares at par, and that will continue to be the situation. I've also been approached by several people who would like to sell their shares, and what I've said is that if you approach the club, we will try to see if there's any buyers out there for you, and try to bring 2 people together in a transaction. If 2 people decide to sell shares between one another at less than par, that is entirely their decision. That's a commercial decision that they make. Nothing whatsoever to do with football. So I hope that sorts that position out there. We'll move on to the next one, which was the shares. Yes. And then just long-term vision for the football club. Well, as I said, we've had a good season. I think we've had an excellent start to this one. The commercial income, which Perry will speak about later, has risen greatly since Perry's been in place. And I think it's true to say that we've already passed last year's figure. So at this stage, it's an astronomical. Of course, we are short on season ticket sales, and again, the all figures being bandied about out there, we're probably about 400 tickets short of where we were last season for season ticket sales. Actual sales are there confirmed, but we are down a little bit on last year, but not very much. So we would like everybody to come along and buy season tickets. That was your prerogative, of course. Pardon? Whatever you want. But anyway, that's the position. Going forward, we see a very healthy position. We're perfectly happy with the commercial income side. Thank you.
I think we can open some people to ask some questions, if that's okay. I'll get the radio mic sorted, and then pick you up and down the room.
Hello. Right. You mentioned about Bill Brass and quite a lot of standing down. Is that on the conditioning and everybody back to their shares of it?
No, it is not. Bill has indicated that he wants to sell his shares, and I have indicated that I will buy some of those shares off him. I'm quite happy to do that. But it is up to individual directors as to whether they hold on to their shares or whether they decide to actually sell them.
the bonds that he's giving you, it's not conditional offsets, and that actually shows
Bill has indicated that he would like to receive money back for his shares, and I've indicated that I will facilitate that stuff.
Mr. Lloyd?
Yep.
Question about guarantees. You mentioned access guarantee, and I appreciate that you can't give any detail, but specifically, has Mickey Adams signed up to guarantees that other directors have signed up to and protect Mark Sims would have to sign up to?
No, Mickey hasn't signed up to the guarantees, but as he's sponsored by Stan Mee's standing in the guarantees at the bank.
Hi Mike. I've got a set of questions that have come from a lot of people who are remote Vale fans,
Okay.
from many exotic locations such as the States, Australia, Thailand, Ipswich. So one of the questions that came out, and it's interesting given the statement that you just made about the £100,000
Yep.
that has come out in costs.
Yep.
And you mentioned that this has brought us down just below the break-even figure. However, how much are those figures, in terms of us reaching break-even, impacted by the recent investment that Kerry has brought in, which we're all grateful for? But in terms of that investment that's brought in, how much of that is upfront this season, rather than being spread over a 5-year period, and therefore has an impact on our income over the next 4 seasons after this?
Well, the income that Terry's brought in is moving on to the season we're in now, and really didn't impact, so it didn't go until late April, and really didn't impact on the season that we've just finished. So any new income that's coming in from commercial or sponsorship will be in next season's figures. None of that will be in last season's account.
Just to continue answering that question then, how does this impact us for the next 4 seasons? So, for example, we have a catering deal, which is a 5-year deal. Is all of that money up front, which means that we can't expect any additional funds around catering over the next 5 years?
Well, I'll let Terry answer that one when it comes to the commercial side of it all. I mean, if you want to answer that now, hang on a minute.
In catering and pouring rights here, actually, it's a good example of where we're going and where we're trying to go. Over the next 3 seasons, as an example, it will increase our guaranteed income across food and drink by 5 times. And it's easy for me to sit here and say it, I absolutely assure you it's increasing our income. If we take last year's food and drink income, it increases it by 5-fold minimum over the next 3 seasons.
So that's a steady drip income?
Yes, it's been paid over. I mean, the catering deal is being paid over 5 years. The pouring rights deal is a 3-year agreement, and that's been paid over 3 years.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like. You know this deal that's going to go through, you seem very, very confident about it. What happens if it doesn't go through? Because you've still got Mr. Pratt and Mr. Oliver on the board, and that's what's upsetting a real large amount of the support.
Well, the general has absolutely nothing to do with that. Glenn hasn't said that his not standing for re-election is anything at all to do with new investment coming in. What Glenn has said is he's been part of this from the start, and he would like to be involved and see it through to the AGM in December. Bills, yes, that is conditional on that new investment coming in, but and it's impossible to say it won't, that this won't happen, but I'm very, very confident that it will happen.
Could you just say if it's the actual American amateur, or is it somebody else?
No, we are talking to various people. The name America keeps coming up because there was announcements made in May about America's interest in the club, the sponsorship of the club. We are talking to other people. I didn't say it wasn't very true. I said we are talking to other people.
Right, can you just clarify for us that the new investment that is being discussed at the moment, that it doesn't exclude any further investment
listen to any investment proposals that are out there.
Quickly thrust into my hand.
Have you got the other mic? Sorry.
Mike, let's see. This is a good one. Now that Bill and Glenn have apparently tendered the resignations, will the chairman and CEO be resuming discussions with Mark Sims, as you have said, but considering that Mark's unreasonable demands have now been met?
Well, they haven't. Mark's demands went further than just the resignation of Bill and Glenn. And I shall be having further talks with Mark about that. We did suggest to Mark that when he came back from holiday, he talked to us about the conditions, scoring conditions, because that's what they were. And Mark declined to do that. He has now indicated though that he would, and I think Dave will confirm this day, if he'd like, he has indicated that he would like to meet with me.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that, if we were to consider Mark Sims, two things, I think, here, and I want to be fair here to Mike and to Perry, because I think the positiveness is still with the two people here, and the hang-up is with people who are not here. I attended the meeting, as I was saying, a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, with Mark and with Perry, Mike, Glenn Oliver and Bill Pratt in relation to questions that Mark had in relation to due diligence. I can actually say that without any shadow of a doubt, Perry and Mike Lloyd were absolutely effervescent, if that's the right word, at wanting to try and bring Mark Sims on board. Glenn was slightly less so, Bill Pratt remained silent. So I think it's very fair to say to Mike's point of view that it was a very, very positive attempt. And I can also say from Mark's point of view, that I did speak to him yesterday, Mark would have no problem working with Mike Lloyd as chairman of Port Vale Football Club. Jean?
Can I ask a couple of questions, please, Mike? First of all, if America aren't involved, I think we need to tell them, because their website is absolutely covered with stuff about the Vale, so it might be polite if they're not involved eventually.
But I didn't actually say that they weren't involved.
Including references to having signed contracts with us. So,
I really do not know where that's come from, but I can assure you that no contracts have been signed.
well, I'm sure you'll be paying us later.
There was an original contract being signed prior to the EGM with regard to their sponsorship. It now goes further than that, and we are in talks with them, as we are with other people, I can assure you, as we are with other people. I know you're laughing, but it's perfectly true. And you might be surprised, but we are in talks with other people and other sponsors of that. I think what's on first probably to that first contract prior to the EGM.
Right. Secondly, you talked about the £100,000 costs of which you attributed yesterday on Radio Stoke to the protests. You mentioned that the cost of an EGM is £12,000 and the cost of the legals surrounding that being approximately £60,000. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right. At the AGM last December, Mr. Brad said that it was his intention to actually call an EGM he would issue a blueprint for the future within 5 weeks and then call an EGM following that. So the club were intended to call an EGM anyway, and therefore I assume those costs would have come upon the club irrespective of whether the protest has taken place. Is that not true?
I think the cost of handling the EGM would probably be £12,000. I don't think there would be a difference there. What you wouldn't have had is the huge amount of legal fees.
Would you explain why?
Well, because obviously you've got to be, you've got to do everything. Question after. If you're building an EGM yourself, right, that's not involved with protest or whatever, then you can do that without racking up lots and lots of legal fees. When you have all the questions and everything else firing that we've had on this EGM, then you're going to have a lot more. It's not rocket science.
Right, so the £60,000 legal fees were